We've all been there, standing in a room, feeling that something is not quite right, but you just can't figure out what it is. Maybe the artwork is way too high, or the room lacks contrast. Whatever it is, chances are a non-negotiable design rule has been broken. From scale and proportions to lighting and layout, we'll cover all the non-negotiables so you can create a space that is balanced and functional. Scale is all about the size of an object or room, while proportion is how objects relate in size to one another. People often get this wrong, like buying furniture that is too big, which makes a room feel cramped, or too small, which can make your space feel like a dollhouse. Picture this: your small 4-seater dining table looks perfect in an apartment, but will seem out of place in a massive 3,000 square foot home's dining room. The same applies to proportions between furniture pieces. For example, a small coffee table paired with a large sectional sofa can feel visually unbalanced. Or similarly, a TV unit that is too small for the TV also looks odd. If you struggle with getting the proportions right, try using the 2/3 rule, where a piece is roughly 2/3 of the other object it is in relation to. For example, your coffee table should be roughly 2/3 the horizontal width of your sofa. Your end of bed bench should be roughly 2/3 the width of your bed. Your TV should be roughly 2/3 the width of your TV unit. And the artwork above your sofa or mirror above your console should be roughly 2/3 the width of the furniture under it. Now, it is important to keep in mind that this is just a starting point, and I find that usually anywhere between half to 3/4 can also work. Another thing to keep in mind is to mix up the heights and sizes of objects in the room, because otherwise, you'll struggle to make it work as it will just look off. Think of your space like a beautiful city skyline. No two buildings are the same height, right? The mix of heights, scales, and shapes is what makes it visually interesting. Don't rely on one hero piece to pull the whole room together. Sure, it does help, but it's really the mix of everything that makes a room sing. Here's a trick. Look at your design from the lens of multiple layers: the foundation pieces like the sofa or bed, the floor coverings, the supporting players like a coffee table or bedside tables, the lighting, and then the fun stuff like art and accessories. Check out this room. There's a rug, poof, the core pieces, sofa, table lamp, sconce, and pendant, all at different heights and scales, creating a dynamic and well-balanced space. If you're struggling with this, I have an in-depth guide on secrets to a beautiful home which you can download for free here. There's also a decorating checklist inside that you can use to help improve the look and feel as you're decorating your home. Another typical mistake is buying a rug that is way too small in relation to the furniture or really tiny artwork on a huge wall. Your rug should be large enough that all your furniture can sit on top of it, or at least the front 2 legs of your sofa. In the bedroom, you want a rug that is roughly 20 to 24 inches wider than your bed so that you can step on it. If in doubt, it is safer to go bigger than smaller. While it does cost more, there's no point buying something that doesn't fit. Just like you wouldn't buy a size 6 shoes if you're typically a size 9. The same goes for art. When in doubt, you can hardly go wrong with a larger piece. A well-designed room is not just about aesthetics. Functionality is crucial too. It doesn't matter how expensive or beautiful your furniture is if people have to awkwardly shimmy around to get around the room. That is why you have to choose furniture that fits the space you have, not the space you wish you'd have. Many of us fall into this trap because we either forget to measure or just ignore the numbers because something is on sale, or we fall in love with a piece and think, maybe I can make it fit. When setting up your room, leave plenty of room between your furniture so people can walk around easily. Aim for 30 to 36 inches between large pieces, but if your space is smaller, 18 to 24 inches will do the trick. Also, don't forget to keep pathways clear to doors, including those leading outside or to a balcony. If you're struggling, you can check out our space planning cheat sheet to help you plan your space. Similarly, when grouping furniture like a sofa, coffee table, and armchair, keep them close enough to be functional, but not so cramped that people have to shimmy around them. I've seen many people spread their furniture against the walls to try to fill in the space, but that leaves you with an empty middle like you're parting the Red Sea. Doing this also means that you have to scream across the room when gathering, which doesn't make sense at all. Instead, pull everything a bit closer and break your room into multiple zones if you've got lots of open space. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Bambu Lab. I've been using their A1 3D printer to make functional items tailored to my needs, like this desk clamp cable holder, which is a really handy way to organize all those pesky charging cables and have it easily accessible. As a total beginner to the world of 3D printing, I like how easy it is to use the Bambu Lab A1. The printer handles all the calibrations automatically, so all you need to do is click print to send the file to the printer and watch as the magic happens. The same way you'll print a paper document. As I've been traveling quite a bit recently, I thought it'll be nice to have a small foldable comb, so I simply printed one. It turned out to be very nice, and I like that it folds small so I can pack it up easily. The best part is you don't even need to know 3D modeling to get started. There's thousands of models that you can copy for free from places like MakerWorld, which is what I did with the comb that Jacob Dam shared in MakerWorld. I also printed this adorable Christmas ball, and as you can see here, you can print models with multiple colors. All you need is the AMS light attachment for the Bambu A1, like I have here to get multi-color printing, which allows up to 4 colors at the same time. Installing the spool is also really easy. Just pop them in and insert them into the tube feeder. The Bambu A1 has a minimalist look to it, which I really like, and there's a decent sized touchscreen which I find really easy to navigate with. Here is another functional print, a toothpaste squeezer, which as the name suggests, helps to squeeze toothpaste, but more importantly, just keeps it neat and upright. If you're looking to get into 3D printing, I think this is a perfect machine to get started. It's also the perfect time to get one, as Bambu Lab is having their biggest sale of the year all the way to December. You can find out more via Bambu Lab's Black Friday page to get the biggest deal of the year. Everything is linked down in the description box below. Thanks again to Bambu Lab for sponsoring today's video. Have you ever been in a home where the TV is mounted above the fireplace? Or perhaps it is mounted just a little bit too high up on the wall for comfort? In fact, it is such a common issue that there's a whole subreddit dedicated to it called TV Too High, with over 200,000 members. The reason this looks off is because it throws off the balance of the room, where you have a big black box that draws your eye upwards the moment you walk into a room. Luckily, the fix is easy. Move your TV down so the center of it is in line with your eye level when seated. On average, this is roughly 42 inches. Which is measured from the floor to the center of the screen. But it will vary depending on your household or sofa height. This will not only prevent neck strain but also reduce eye fatigue. If you have a tall fireplace, see if you can place the TV next to it or on the other side of the room. Another idea if you don't want to throw off the balance is to get a framed TV, which basically acts like a painting so you can install them a little bit higher. The same ideas go for hanging art. Generally, you'll want a center of the artwork at standing eye level, which is usually around 57 to 60 inches from the floor. Again, this is just a starting point, so you need to adjust this if people are generally taller or shorter in your household. If you have gallery walls, treat the whole group like one big piece and follow the same 57 to 60 inches rule from the floor to the center. Ultimately, the success for your space hinges on its lighting. Even the most perfectly decorated room will be ruined by poor lighting, which usually happens when relying only on a single light source. That is why it is so important to layer your lighting. Now the first step is to simply add more light sources, some table and floor lamps, pendants or wall sconces. There's so many options to choose from. You cannot just rely on downlights as this will cast unflattering shadows and do not provide adequate lighting or a nice ambience. It is always best to have a combination of ambient, task and accent lighting. Ambient lighting is your general light source. Think of a pendant, table, floor lamp, or wall sconces that shines in all directions. They provide overall illumination to a room. Task lighting is for more specific purposes, usually with narrow beams of light. For example, a directional lamp for reading or working. Accent lighting is your finishing touch to add drama to a room. Think of an uplight that shines on a tree or a spotlight for your artwork. Next, pay attention to the color temperature. Ideally, buy the same brand and type of bulb for a single room so the light color is consistent in each room. I generally recommend 4000 Kelvin bulbs or under for most rooms around the house. You can check out my video on how to light a space if you want to learn more about all the details to light your home. The absence of contrast will give a room a flat and predictable feel, which is why it is so important to mix things up with different materials, finishes, and colors to keep things visually exciting. The easiest way to create contrast is by juxtaposing light and dark colors, but you can also create contrast with textures, shapes, and size. For example, you could put highly textured chairs next to a smooth marble countertop, or pair an angular sofa with a more rounded coffee table. Contrast is a very important element in interior design, and many designers will say that contrast is what makes design successful. One approach is to think of contrast as pairing antonyms together. angular and rounded, matte and glossy, warm and cold, hard and soft, rough and smooth. You get the idea. If you're not sure about how you can create contrast with the items you already have, think of an adjective that describes that object, and then find its opposite for your contrast element. You can even dial up or down the contrast depending on the vibe you're going for. If you wanted to create a calming bedroom, you might use colors that only slightly vary in shades, like a scheme of whites and beige or pastel blues. Now, it's important to keep in mind that you still need contrast here, because if all the blues and textures are matching, this is what you'll get instead. It is flat and boring. But if you wanted a more energizing room, you might employ a scheme featuring both low and high intensity color to evoke a greater sense of energy. A well-designed room needs repeated elements to guide your eye throughout the space to make you feel like everything ties well together. Without it, a space will feel disjointed and chaotic. Now, the easiest way to get that flow is by repeating materials, colors, shapes, a particular design style, a type of wood, or themes from an artwork. You could, for example, play with shades of the same color across different surfaces, or echo similar wood tones throughout the room to keep things cohesive. You may not realize this, but by incorporating repetition, you're well on your way to creating rhythm. Rhythm is a design principle that is all about creating movement and harmony in a space. As you repeat these elements, your eyes will naturally pick up patterns, taking you from one corner of the room to another like it's all part of the same story. It is subtle but super effective because our brains are wired to catch those details. But here's a tip: don't go overboard with repetition only. Too much of the same thing and the space will feel flat or even boring. It is all about striking the right balance between repetition and contrast. Okay, this is a big one that not many people talk about. I can't tell you how many times I've seen clients try to force a room design around a piece like a sofa or dining table that they feel totally meh about. Here's the problem. When you try to force a whole room around a piece you don't love, everything ends up feeling lackluster. This usually happens because one of three things. First, you may have a piece that you already own, and of course, naturally, you want to try to reuse it. Second, you bought something impulsively, or you settled for something and realized that it just doesn't work in your space. Or third, maybe your style and taste change as you grow older, which is pretty common. Whatever the reason, don't force it. Sell that piece, get some cash back, and put it towards something you love. You can sell it on Marketplace, Craigslist, or other online platforms. If you simply don't have the time or budget yet, come up with a design plan for the room, which I'd advise anyone to do regardless, and then decorate according to that plan. The meh piece might be an eyesore for a little while, but you're playing the long game. Eventually, you'll swap it out and the new piece will slide right into your place, completing your dream room. This way, you won't end up hating the whole space and feeling like you need to start over from scratch. You're just building towards the bigger picture, one step at a time. Eyeballing furniture or impulsively buying that sale piece from your local furniture store is a disaster waiting to happen. Before going shopping, get out your tape measure and measure everything in your room. Then, map it out on a floor plan. You can use Magic Plan if you use an iPad, or Floor Planner and Rayon on computers. They're all very easy to use as you can simply drag and drop items. Even better, get the measurements of your desired piece of furniture and map it out with the masking tape on your actual floor to see if it will fit in your space. You can then walk around it and get a real feel for its size. At the end of the day, some rules are made to be broken. If your home doesn't feel right to you, trust your gut and move things around. After all, interior design is as much about how a space feels as how it looks. It is way more important to live in a home that makes you happy than to follow all the rules people say you should. That said, if you feel like something is wrong or lacking but can't pinpoint it, then use this video to guide you through. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on how to make your home look expensive, and this video on 8 reasons why your home feels disjointed and how you can fix them. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.